I want to talk about something. It's been a while I haven't made a video talking about spiritual matters. For those who follow me from a long time, you've noticed I've disappeared for several months, but I'm still here. I've been going through a new journey, and for those who know, that journey is the journey of the Christ. Oh, you were Omar. You were uh, uh, criticizing religion before. What happened to you? Did you take a step back? You've gone crazy. That's not the case. Well, maybe I've gone crazy in a sense, but certainly did not take a step back. What I want to talk today is the Christian claim when Christians say, or when Christians quote Jesus for having said, "None shall come to the Father but through me. I am the truth, the way, and the life. None shall come through the Father but through me." And so they say, you can only know the Father through Jesus, that man, Jesus. But there's something that people don't ask themselves because, of course, an unenlightened person cannot ask certain questions, cannot perceive certain realities. What do I mean by that? What I mean is, when Jesus said, "I am the truth, the way, the truth, the way, and the life. None can come to the Father but through me." Did you ever ask yourselves what he meant by I and me? Maybe when you say I and me, you mean me, my way of thinking, my belief, my body, me, this person. Do you think that when the Son of God says me, he means this person, this man? I thought that this man was God. I thought that you saw this man as God, as one of the three persons of the Trinity. He doesn't say me the same way that we say me. He's not talking about him as a person, as a persona, as a personality, as a body, as someone. He's talking about the eternal. Let's dive deeper into this. For those who are familiar with spiritual matters and mystical matters and all that kind of language, you might understand a bit better. For those who have never delve in, never gone into any of these things, it'll be a little bit harder, but hopefully you will understand as well. You see, Jesus was an enlightened being. That's what it means to become godlike. That's what it means to become divine in the universal language of things. Now, this is not Christian language, Muslim language, Buddhist language. It is the universal language of things. A human being is the only living creature that we know of which can manifest God within himself. Jesus said it. The kingdom of God is within you. So people who have never gone into yogic culture, yogic science, yogic mysticism will have a very hard time understanding these things, and so they will go towards faith. So just have faith, Someone told you to believe in it, someone you really trust, someone you really love, and you're just trusting it. Well, let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, that is not the way I have come to know Jesus Christ. I did not come to Jesus by just believing. In fact, I was the biggest disbeliever. For those who have been following me, I've spent most of my life criticizing God, Jesus, everyone which had some godly figure, something to do with God. I mocked them endlessly. That's me. That's the person you're looking at right now. I was completely against faith. And in some sense, I still am. Not really against it, no. I've come to acknowledge the importance of faith in certain circumstances. But I'm still not the same as those who believe blindly just because that's how they grew up, because someone told them to believe, because they trust someone or they love someone and they just want to follow in their footsteps. I'm not that kind of person. I don't follow in no one's footsteps. I follow in the footsteps of the footstepless. So what got me to come to Christ? Well, the creator of all things, the divine, that which is, I am that I am, has led me through many trials and tribulations in life, has led me through many journeys in life, which made me take a whole circle, understanding and exploring and knowing, coming to many truths until the full picture was complete. And then when I finally came back, made the whole turn, and I made many turns actually, not just one. But for the sake of this discussion, let's just assume it's one. I came back with a more understanding heart, with a more open heart, with a more purified heart, and a still mind to see and to know what is there by God's grace. A lot of people, maybe even my parents and my family, think maybe he's gone crazy. This boy has always been an atheist, has always been ridiculing and insulting, and rightfully so, God and religion, which is nothing but mythology. And now he's talking about becoming Christian, wanting to be baptized. Oh, it must be some childhood trauma that made him do this. No, it's not. No, it's not. I am fully mature right now, spiritually speaking. And this maturity doesn't stop. It keeps growing. I'm not saying I've arrived at the top and now I know everything. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying I've matured and I continue to become matured, and I have not fallen back. So when Jesus or any enlightened being says I, they're not talking about the I that you know. They're not talking about the personality nor the person. They're talking about the substance which makes them divine. When Jesus says, "No one shall know the Father or shall come to the Father but through me," he is not saying me as the ego, because anyone who is not enlightened or has not tasted or even fathomed, even though it's not fathomable, the enlightened state shall have no idea what I'm talking about, or even what Jesus is talking about. And truth in the world is suppressed. We know this. Somehow, the deep truths that Jesus was speaking of have been camouflaged well enough to the point that they were able to be misused as a tool of enslavement, as a tool of colonization, as a tool of oppression. We all know the story. I'm not here denying what the Christians have done in the world. In fact, I was one of the biggest critics of what Christianity has done in the world, killing off all these indigenous people and taking away their culture and beliefs and everything, and replacing it with Christianity and Catholicism. And now this boy, this man, is wearing a Catholic cross. Doesn't that intrigue you? Doesn't that make you a little bit curious? Doesn't that make you want to hear the story? How did you, after all these years, become or accept Christ through the Catholic? In fact, I don't just love the Catholic, I love all. But I feel more closer to the Catholic. But I also love the Assyrian Church. I also love the Orthodox Church. But I find the Catholic to be the least alienating of them all. Probably even the Assyrian Church. I love it. I don't know much about it, but everything I've seen about it seems to be right there where I am. So, coming back to what I'm saying, when Jesus says through me, guys, we say, like, in Christianity says Jesus is love, right? Jesus is also known as the Son of Love, not only the Son of God, the Son of Love, because love is God, right? And God is love. So in one hymn, Christian hymn, they say God's love from heaven. Sorry, love's son. I'm sorry. I rectify myself. Love's son. Instead of God's son, they say love's son. So why don't people, or why don't people in general say, oh, when Jesus said no one can come to God but through me, he meant but through love, because he is love. He is the impersonation of love. Love and truth. All these things can be attributes of enlightenment. The enlightened being. And Jesus is an enlightened being, and was an enlightened being. That is what makes him divine. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail or too much touching on all the things about him, the virgin birth and all these things. It's okay. Stories have their purpose beyond what you may think or believe. Let's not disturb that. Let's just leave it. But Jesus was an enlightened being, and there's many enlightened beings. Jesus never said you can only know God through this man Jesus. You see, an enlightened being has no ego. Or even if he does have an ego, he is not a slave to his ego at all. His ego is just like a piece of cloth, which he can wear whenever he wants and remove whenever he wants. So, no one can come to the Father but through me. It means but through love. It means but through honesty. It means through truth. It means through sacrifice. Sacrificing, not killing people or murdering, but sacrificing your own self. Sacrificing the things that matter to you. Just lay yourself down. That's what it means to be. a follower of Christ. That's what it means to know the Father through these things, because all these things represent what Jesus was and is, and what he represents. It is not a person, like saying no one can know the Father but through so and so person. Jesus was far more than a person. He was the Son of God, not in the sense that you understand it, but the one who came in flesh by the Holy Spirit, by the grace of the Creator, the embodiment of the Creator as a human being. But he never meant you can only know God through this human being, because that human being gave his life. That human being is beyond the human being. If he was limited to the human being, he wouldn't have given his life, because once he gave his life, that's it, it's finished. But he's beyond the flesh. Even though he came as the flesh, he's beyond the flesh. So when he says, I am this and that, and no one can know the Father but through me, now you understand. Now it's fought. You see, these things have to be seen through a very different eye than the eye that you've grown up with in America, in Europe, or in wherever place you come from. This is an egoless manifestation of the self. And my friends, that exactly is what God is.